After more than half a century of isolation from the outside world, Cuba has become one of the most mysterious and unique countries on the planet. From the lack of cash transactions and the scarcity of public restrooms to restricted internet access, everything here leaves visitors astonished. In this video you will discover the strange laws, quirky customs, and taboos that exist only in Cuba. Don't miss out, as this will give you the most authentic glimpse into this fascinating and unique country. Number 15. 15 years old is considered a woman. When you meet a 15 or 16-year-old girl in Cuba, don't hesitate to call her a woman instead of a girl. It may sound strange, but this is how Cubans show respect. In Cuba, there's a traditional celebration called that takes place on a girl's 15th birthday. Similar to celebrations in many other Latin countries, this ceremony marks the transition from adolescence to adulthood. On this special day, the girl typically wears a long dress and makeup, resembling a small wedding ceremony. The party can be held at home or entertainment venues with family and friends in attendance. Besides the celebration, a crucial part of the event includes receiving gifts and blessings from family and loved ones, symbolizing the community's care for the girl on this important day. From her 15th birthday onwards, girls are considered women and are allowed to attend adult parties, wear makeup, shave their legs, wear high heels, and shape or dye their eyebrows. Number 14. Do not criticize Fidel. Remember, the most basic rule when visiting Cuba is to steer clear of political jokes. In Cuba, freedom of speech is not as open as in many other places, and criticizing the government is completely unacceptable. As a foreign tourist, you should avoid making any negative remarks about Fidel Castro in casual conversations. This could even lead to arrest. Fidel Castro is a figure of profound influence in Cuba. He led the successful revolution in 1959 and ruled until stepping down in 2008. Throughout that time, he implemented various significant policies, establishing a communist political and economic system that generated plenty of controversy. Some praise him while others criticize him depending on personal views. However, in Cuba, criticizing Fidel Castro is not tolerated as he and his government enforce strict limitations on freedom of speech and politics. In some cases, criticizing him could be seen as breaking the law or leading to unwanted consequences. Number 13. Do not exchange money on the street. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say because it could save you a considerable amount of money while traveling in Cuba. The official currency used by locals is the Cuban peso, but it can be converted into a special currency created specifically for tourists, which most foreign visitors use. If you want to exchange US dollars for this tourist currency, make sure to only do so at banks or official currency exchange offices known as. Do not be tempted by people on the street offering to exchange money, as there have been many scams. Even children who appear harmless could be skilled swindlers, and many tourists have fallen for scams without realizing it. Therefore, it's best to bring a credit card for transactions. However, one important reminder, any card issued by a US bank will not be accepted here. You can use Visa and MasterCard from other countries, but you will face an 11% fee for every transaction. Number 12. The Kingdom of Cigars. It would be remiss to talk about Cuba without mentioning cigars, a prominent symbol of the local culture. Cuba's cigar-making industry has been a traditional craft for hundreds of years, with its own secrets and the blessings of nature. Cuban cigars are renowned worldwide and everyone desires to experience their unique flavor. Cuba is known as the place where the finest tobacco leaves in the world are grown and processed. The land, climate, and farming techniques here produce tobacco leaves with distinct flavors and exceptional quality. Additionally, Cuban cigars are typically handcrafted using traditional methods that require time and high skill to create perfect products. Cuban cigar artisans strictly follow production and preservation processes to ensure optimal quality. As a tourist, you can take home up to 20 Cuban cigars without having to pay import taxes, as long as they are unboxed. If you have receipts and the cigars are sealed in boxes, you can bring up to 50 cigars. However, remember that each country has different regulations on the quantity of cigars you can bring back. Immersing yourself in the world of Cuban cigars is not only about exploring a unique product, but also about experiencing the rich cultural traditions of a country steeped in heritage. Number 11. Free healthcare. It might sound unbelievable, but in a country as poor and challenged as Cuba, the healthcare system is impressively well developed and thorough. According to the World Health Organization, Cuba's healthcare system is highly advanced, and its medical professionals have successfully treated many deadly diseases that other countries still struggle with. A prime example is that in 2015, the World Health Organization recognized Cuba as the first country to completely eliminate the transmission of HIV from mother to child. Despite the low basic income of its people, doctors in Cuba earn up to 40 times more than the average salary. In return, Cubans receive free medical services and home care. This has made Cuba one of the countries with the highest number of doctors per capita in the world, with about 8.4 doctors per 1,000 inhabitants. In comparison, the rate in the United States is only 2.6, and in Italy it is 4.1. Even more remarkable is that many foreigners come to Cuba for treatment, hoping to improve their health and extend their lives. The results they achieve often exceed their expectations, making Cuba an unexpected yet unique medical destination. Number 10. No knowledge of the internet. If you come to Cuba, don't expect to use your smartphone or computer, as all communication with the outside world will be virtually cut off due to the country's extremely underdeveloped internet system. Cuba has one of the most tightly controlled internet networks in the world. Since it was introduced in the 1990s, the system has seen little progress due to factors like limited budget, government restrictions, US sanctions, and exorbitant taxes. Before 2018, almost no one in Cuba knew about the internet. By January 2018, around 500 public hotspots began providing high-speed Wi-Fi. However, accessing the internet at home or on mobile phones is still a luxury for most Cubans. Cuba's internet infrastructure is among the worst globally. Not only is the technology lacking, but Cuban citizens also face extremely high access fees, primarily through public Wi-Fi networks, which cost about $2 per hour. But even after paying, connection speeds are slow due to the large number of users. To access the internet, Cubans must also pay a hefty price for a smartphone. Even with a phone and network connection, they cannot use popular apps due to information restrictions. App stores like Apple Store and Google Play do not allow users in Cuba to download apps, explaining why, despite Cuba having over 11 million people, less than 0.1% actually have access to the internet. Number 9. The fascination with rum, Cuba's liquid gold. When talking about Cuba, it's impossible not to mention rum, known as the island's liquid gold. The rum industry in Cuba is not just about producing a beverage, it's an essential part of the local culture and history. From famous brands like Havana Club to artisanal rums, each type carries its own story, reflecting the richness and diversity of Cuban culture. Rum production in Cuba is meticulous and labor-intensive. Natural ingredients like sugarcane are carefully selected and undergo many processing stages to create a distinctive flavor. One key factor that sets Cuban rum apart is the local climate and soil, which help produce a unique and rich taste. Cuban people don't just drink rum but also invent creative ways to enjoy it. From refreshing mojitos to sophisticated cocktails, rum is ever present at festivals and parties. Mixing and enjoying rum isn't just about drinking. It's a ritual of communication and connection between people. Visitors to Cuba often love exploring the famous rum distilleries, where they can learn about the production process and enjoy the finest rums. Number 8. Using ration coupons to buy goods. Cuba is a truly underdeveloped country, and the lives of its people are not as happy as they may appear to the outside world. Even personal shopping is strictly controlled. Since 2019, the Cuban government has implemented a rationing system for essential goods such as chicken, eggs, rice, beans, soap, and other necessities. This food distribution system was introduced after the 1959 revolution, and what's astonishing is that it still exists in 2024. Cuban citizens still rely on ration cards to receive their monthly supply of rice, milk, and bread from black market stores. In addition, they can combine these coupons with cash to purchase goods at a cheaper price than on the open market, though quantities are strictly limited. Each household is only allowed to purchase goods according to individual quotas and cannot exceed these limits. Foreign tourists are not given ration cards and can only shop at markets, supermarkets, or shopping centers where prices are significantly higher. Number 7. The enigma of vintage cars. When walking down the streets of Cuba, one of the first things you'll notice is the stunning vintage cars still in use. These vehicles are not just modes of transportation, they carry the stories of a turbulent historical era. Manufactured in the mid-20th century, these cars have become cultural symbols of Cuba, attracting the attention of both locals and international tourists. But why are these vintage cars so common? The answer lies in Cuba's embargo, which began in 1959, leading to a halt in the production of new cars. Cubans were forced to maintain and repair their old vehicles, creating a unique car culture. Many have become skilled artisans in restoring these classic cars, replacing engines, repainting them, and transforming them into works of art. Each vintage car in Cuba has its own unique character, from gleaming Chevrolets to classic Fords. Each one reflects the owner's personal taste and has become an integral part of local folklore. Interestingly, these cars are not only seen on the streets but also appear in films, music videos, and advertisements, making them irresistibly charming. Number 6. Open-top taxis. In Cuba, you'll easily spot vintage cars driving around and parked along the streets, especially in Old Havana and its seaside hotels. One of the most iconic images is the colorful classic taxis, especially the almendrones and cocoa taxis. These cars are not only visually nostalgic but also feature open-top designs, providing a fun experience for passengers. The cocoa taxi, a small yellow vehicle shaped like a football, has 2 passenger seats in the back and 1 seat for the driver. These taxis usually operate over short distances in the city and are affordable, primarily serving locals. However, for tourists, the cocoa taxi has become a unique attraction in Havana, drawing thousands of visitors eager to enjoy this special experience. For vintage car lovers, Havana's streets are a paradise, but for Cuban citizens, using decades-old cars isn't a matter of choice but necessity. Like North Korea, Cuba has been under economic embargo since 1959, lacks a domestic car industry, and purchasing new vehicles is nearly impossible. As a result, people are forced to use the old models left from earlier times. Number 5. Street performers and their unique regulations. When thinking of Cuba, lively street performers with their vibrant performances often come to mind. However, few people know that in addition to the charm they bring, street performers in Cuba must adhere to strict regulations. These rules not only ensure public safety but also preserve the unique artistic culture of the island nation. These restrictions have created an intriguing environment of creativity, turning every performance into a distinct artistic adventure. Despite the barriers, Cuban artists always find ways to captivate their audiences. They often blend traditional and modern art forms, from lively salsa music to energetic hip-hop dancing, to maintain the spirit of street art. They continuously learn, create, and innovate daily, which not only brings joy to the spectators, but also becomes an inseparable part of Cuban life. Interestingly, every street performer has their own story. Some have given up stable jobs to follow their passion for art, while others have faced numerous challenges to continue performing. These stories not only make the audience feel more connected, but also highlight the optimistic and joyful spirit of the Cuban people. Number 4. Addicted to beans. You've probably heard a lot about Cuban cuisine, a blend of indigenous Spanish and African influences. However, that's mostly the food you see in restaurants. For the average Cuban, beans are a staple food, consumed as frequently as rice is in China. In Cuban cuisine, beans are often made into a famous dish called Cuban black beans with rice. This staple dish plays a prominent role in the country's food culture, meaning Moors and Christians in Spanish, describes a dish of black beans, sometimes called served with rice and often cooked with spices like onions, garlic, peppers, oregano, cayenne, and bay leaves. The dish is typically served with meat, usually pork or chicken, and often accompanied by fried plantains or bread. This dish is not only popular in Cuba, but is also a crucial part of family meals and large celebrations. Black beans are an important source of protein and nutrition for the local population and form a significant part of their everyday diet. Number 3. Cuban coffee culture, more than just a drink. Coffee is not merely a beverage in Cuba, it is an integral part of the culture and daily life of its people. From early mornings to enjoyable evenings, savoring a cup of coffee has become a ritual that brings people together. Cubans regard the preparation and enjoyment of coffee as an art form, reflected in the meticulous production process and unique rituals. The process of coffee production in Cuba starts at traditional coffee plantations, where farmers take meticulous care of each coffee plant. The beans are harvested, roasted, and ground by hand, resulting in a unique flavor that cannot be found elsewhere. Interestingly, Cubans often use the French-style brewing method, which helps preserve the flavor and essence of the pure coffee beans. The ritual of enjoying coffee is also an essential part of Cuban culture. A cup of coffee is not just seen as a drink, but as an opportunity to converse, connect, and share precious moments together. When you visit Cuba, you'll see people enjoying coffee together in small street cafes or during family gatherings, creating a warm and close-knit atmosphere. Number 2, ballet pride in Cuba. The most beloved sport in Cuba is baseball, but the true pride of the nation is ballet. Many say that Russian ballet impresses with its excellence, and French ballet evokes intense emotions, while Cuban ballet blends both elements, creating a unique beauty in the country's artistic culture. Cuba has a rich and impressive ballet history. In the 20th century, the country produced many talented and famous ballet dancers, alongside the establishment of renowned theaters and ballet schools. One standout figure is Alicia Alonso, who founded the Cuban National Ballet in the 1940s and became a symbol of Cuban ballet. She inspired generations of dancers and helped develop the art of ballet in the country. Today, ballet is not only a part of Cuba's artistic heritage but is also cherished and loved by its people. No one dares to criticize ballet artists because they recognize the undeniable passion and talent of these individuals. Cuban ballet is more than just an art form. It is a symbol of national pride and cultural identity. Come and discover the world of Cuban ballet, where every dance tells a story filled with emotion and finesse. Number 1. Always love life. Cubans carry within them a deep sense of pride and dignity. They are known for their friendliness, and anyone who sets foot on the island can feel it. To bring joy to life, Cubans often host vibrant festivals rich in local culture, promoting the image of their country to friends around the world. One of the most notable festivals is the Cabaret Parisien show. Initially introduced by Americans, its brilliance and allure won over the Cuban people, and they have preserved and developed it to this day. The Cabaret Parisien show doesn't just recreate historical images of ancient native peoples, it's also full of lively celebrations. Many compare the splendor of the Parisian cabaret performances to those in Las Vegas, but each show in Cuba still carries its own distinct charm and is incredibly captivating. Cubans are known for their beauty and vibrant spirit, thanks to the blend of ancient racial lines, which becomes even more marvelous through their passionate dances. In our journey through Cuba, we've explored the taboos and peculiarities that can only be found in this island nation. What impressed you the most? Leave a comment below. For now, goodbye and see you in